So in today's lesson, we're going to be having a look at solving some worded problems. And I know you guys have done this before, so we're just going to look at two quick examples. Okay, so you've got some steps in front of you. We've got step 1, identify the unknown quantity and define a variable. Really, really important to define a variable, whatever variable it is that you're going to be using throughout the question. Step 2, use the variable to list the information in the question. Step 3, we're going to write an equation, obviously. Step 4, we're going to solve that equation. Step 5, we're going to check our solution like we've been doing in the past couple of lessons. And step 6, answer the question in a sentence. Really key for worded problems. They're worded problems, so we need a worded answer. Okay, so let's have a look at our first example on your sheet there. We've got some people. We've got Liam and Miles and Natasha, and they're comparing the amount of time they spent on social media last week. We've got some key information next, actually, so I might just grab out a highlighter because it says Liam spent 3 times as many hours on social media as Miles. Natasha spent 4 hours less than Liam. Altogether, they spent 38 hours on social media all up. Okay, so first step is to identify the unknown quantity and to define a variable. Yep. And that sentence always starts with let, right? And it's usually X, sometimes it's Y. I'm going to pick a letter. It actually doesn't matter what letter you pick, so you pick a letter. I'm going to pick the letter M because I'm looking at our unknown things, and we've actually got 3 unknown quantities here. We've got the number of hours that Liam spent on social media. We've got the number of hours that Miles spent on social media, and Natasha as well. So I don't want 3 different variables. I don't want 3 unknown quantities to work with because I can't work with that. I need 1. Yep. So I'm going to pick M for Miles. So I'm going to go let M equals. Now M is not short for Miles. M is chosen because it is the first letter of Miles, but M actually stands for the number of hours that Miles spent on social media. So I'm going to write that down. Really important that your variables always stand for numbers. Yep. Okay. Step 2. Use the variable to list given information. Okay, so we've got Liam, we've got these 3 people, Liam, Miles, and Natasha. Miles is easy, he spent M hours on social media. Yeah. Liam spent, let's see, we highlighted that. Liam spent 3 times as many hours on social media as Miles. So if Miles spent M hours, then Liam spent 3 times that, 3M. The last one, Natasha spent 4 hours less than Liam. So if Liam spent 3M hours, then Natasha spent 3M minus 4. So step 3 says to write an equation linking the information. So here's our information all sitting in step 2 there. We want to link it all up. And the key to that is up here, altogether they spent 38 hours on social media. So what we need to do is add them up, right? Liam spent 3M hours, Miles spent M hours, and Natasha spent 3M minus 4 hours. All up that is 38, so we've got our equation. Step 4 says to solve that equation. So we just need to add up these like terms, collect these like terms. 3M plus M plus 3M is 7M. Subtract 4 is 38. If we add a 4 to both sides to get rid of that minus 4, we end up with 7M on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, add 4, we get 42. Last step, divide both sides by 7 to get rid of this 7 here, and we have M is equal to 42 divided by 7, 6. So step 5 says to check your solution, and I'm just going to very quickly write here optional, because this isn't part of your solution. If you don't do this, it's fine. It's just to make sure you've done it right. Yeah. So what do we have? We have that Miles spent 6 hours on social media. Liam will correspondingly have spent 3 times as many, so 18 hours on social media. And Natasha was 4 hours less than Liam, so Natasha's on 14 hours. Yep. All up, they spend 6 plus 18 is 24 plus 14 gives us 38, which is what we want. So we've done it right. So it's a really quick check. A really good way to make sure you've done it right. This last bit's really important. Answer the question in a sentence. I've forgotten what the question has asked us, so I'm scrolling up. How many hours did each person spend on social media? So just listing them off. Liam spent 18 hours. Miles spent 6 hours. And Natasha spent 14 hours on social media. Okay, example 1 done. Let's have a look at example 2 now. It says, if Stanley multiplies his age in 7 years' time by 4, the resulting age is his mother's current age. It's a very long sentence. Stanley's mother is currently 52 years old. How old is Stanley currently? Okay, so again, step 1, identify the unknown quantity and define a variable. This one's a little bit easier because the question gives it to us. We don't have lots and lots of unknown quantities to choose from. Remember, we always start with the word let. I'm going to go with S because the question asks how old is Stanley currently. So I'm going to say let S be Stanley's current age. Right, remember that a pronumeral variable is always standing in for a number. Okay, list the information in the question using a variable, step 2. Now, this question is, I don't know, it's confusing to me. I look at this and I think I'm not quite sure. So let's have a look at some key information. If Stanley multiplies his age in 7 years' time by 4, he gets his mother's current age. Okay, so these two things are equal, and his mother's current age is 52. So let's list out some information. Now we've got Stanley, and we've got his mum. Right? I'm just going to draw up a quick table because I'm thinking it might help me to organize my thoughts. So now and in 7 years' time. We might not actually need all of this space, but Stanley is now S years old, right? In 7 years' time, he's going to be S plus 7 years old, right? Add 7 to his age. Stanley's mum is currently 52 years old. That's not, I don't know, we know that. In 7 years' time, we don't need this, okay? So, how does that help us to write an equation linking all of our information? It says if Stanley multiplies his age in 7 years' time by 4, right? He has to multiply by 4, okay? So we are going to need to multiply by 4 Stanley's age in 7 years' time, which was this, right? S plus 7. Okay, so Stanley multiplies his age in 7 years' time, S plus 7, by 4, and he gets his mother's current age, which is 52. Okay, I think we've got an equation. Yeah, I think this is correct. So let's do step 4, solve the equation. Now remember, we've got multiple ways of doing this. We could expand out the brackets on the left-hand side and then perform inverse operations, but I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And I know I've said you don't have to write your inverse operations, and you still don't, but I'm going to just for this one. I'm going to divide both sides by 4 to begin with, which means that the 4's cancel. And the reason I've chosen to do that is because I've got S plus 7 on the left-hand side here, and on the right-hand side, 52 divided by 4 very nicely is 13. Remember we said a couple lessons ago we wouldn't do this if we ended up with fractions straight off. Yeah, so we've got a nice whole number. And then this is very easy to solve. Take a 7 from both sides, we get 6. Okay. Step 5, sorry. It says check your solution. Again, optional, you don't have to do this. But if Stanley is currently 6 years old, then in 7 years' time, he's going to be 13, some familiar numbers. If we multiply this by 4, we get 52, which is his mother's current age, which means it's right. Okay, answer the question in a sentence. I've forgotten what the question is again. How old is Stanley currently? That's easy. Stanley is 6 years